Perfect. Let's do it, fellas. Elevation Nation, we are throwing it way, way back to probably maybe third grade Sam, fourth grade Sam, with our guest today. You may recognize his last name. His cousin, Nikki Novoselsky, was on our podcast in one of our first episodes about her life, but we love Nikki. Shout out, Nikki. Tonight is all about the man, the myth, the legend, Zach Novoselsky. Welcome to Elevation Nation. We are so excited to have you join us to talk about your journey through college athletics, your MBA, your entrepreneurial spirit, and your latest venture with BuzzU, working with NILs and college athletes. Welcome to the show, man. We are so hyped you are here.
I appreciate it. What an intro. I'm glad to be here. Sam, Parker, thanks for having me. And I'm excited to get into it.
We are pumped. I'm pumped in particular because I always obviously go through everyone's LinkedIn, everyone doing a little research, and all I see on Zach's profile, founder. I'm like, let's effing go. Let's go. This is going to be fun. I love this. And what you're doing, Zach, with BuzzU is so cool, and I'm sure it has been a wild year and a half. We'll get on to it. But before we get into it, Elevation Nation needs to know a little bit more about you. It's the Elevation Nation podcast. What's your elevator pitch?
You want the elevator pitch for Zach Novoselsky, or you want which one you want?
The one they teach at business school, man. No, I'm kidding. Anything. Who are you? What you up to these days?
Yeah, so my name is Zach Novoselsky, founder of BuzzU. And right now we are democratizing the world of NIL. So what we are doing is putting data analytics behind the name, image, and likeness industry and making it so every single college athlete can now make deals and monetize off of their name. And so that is what I am up to right now. How was that? You investing?
That was perfect. I think we might be investing already. So, but Zach, there's a man behind BuzzU that I also want to make sure gets an intro and an elevator pitch because he's pretty incredible himself. So tell us just a little bit, Zach. I obviously know your story, but who you are and kind of your college experience as well.
Yeah, so I grew up in the suburbs of Illinois, about 5 minutes away from Sam, and had the opportunity to go and play college football on scholarship at Western Michigan University after high school. And was out in Kalamazoo for about 8 years there. And the entrepreneurial bug bit me pretty quick. So the football side and the sports experiences and relationships really built the foundation of what I've been able to do in the entrepreneurial side and really helped shape who I am as a person.
It's pretty incredible, like Parker was saying, looking at your LinkedIn and seeing founder. I think there's this like unwritten, unspoken brotherhood that I feel when I see someone who's tried or attempted to build something on their own, because until you've attempted, I don't think you get it. I think you see like entrepreneurship is sexy, man. Like, damn, he made a logo. Like, that's sick. He started an Instagram. Like, he's got a website. They don't realize all the shit that goes in on the back end, like the sleepless nights, the imposter syndrome, the stress, the doubting yourself that goes into being an entrepreneur. So I think that's why I know Parker was really excited when I kind of gave him your background, because we really relate to any entrepreneur out there, specifically because I get your struggles, and we're going to get into that and your story as well. So Zach, you gave us the background on football. Zach is a little bit bigger than me, folks, in case you weren't able to tell. I did not have any D1 football or basketball scholarships, but Zach was carrying it down for Stevenson High School and was out there making his name known. But like you said, football kind of ended and you got bit by that entrepreneurial bug. And it started with Athletes Beyond Campus, the football program as well, right? Then we went into Novoselsky Media. Then this thing called COVID-19 hit, and now we're in BuzzU. So can we talk just briefly, because I know the focus wants to be on NIL and BuzzU, but that kind of progression of those different organizations and companies that you started?
Yeah, I would love to talk about it. And I think one thing that you hit on that's so big is the fact that saying founder and CEO is sort of this sexy title of, hey, I want to be that. And you don't see everything that goes behind it, and every hat that you have to wear in order to do that. And so the progression started coming out of college. Like I mentioned, had some great years playing, had a lot of opportunities to go to the Cotton Bowl, go to the Bahamas, play a bunch of great teams, meet a bunch of great people, and saw our former quarterback, Zach Terrell, finish his playing career and then open up his training and mentorship for kids around the Kalamazoo area. Then it turned into guys from Texas and guys from Canada flying in to Kalamazoo, Michigan to train with him and watch film with him, and really wanted to be around him. And so that's where a light bulb went off in my head that said, why can't every single player do this? And so what I did is I said they should be able to. Let's create a platform for it. So the goal was to connect recently graduated college football players to athletes 8 to 18 for mentorship and training. And we did that and trained about 2,000 kids at a couple hundred different sessions, but quickly realized that it's winter about 10 months out of the year. Probably should have figured that out a little bit earlier, considering I was born here in the Midwest.
Kalamazoo in Chicago is no Miami, man. We only got a couple feasible months.
No doubt. It is not Miami. So so it turned more into impact, right? And how many kids can we help in the select amount of months that we can train outside instead of being inside in an indoor. And it went from there. And from there, found an opportunity. I don't know if you remember this, but I actually was running a food competition page on Instagram.
I remember that one well. I'm sorry I left that out here.
Parker, you might not be familiar with this.
I was going to say, were you eating like Twinkies or something?
Well, I was over 300 pounds at one point, Parker, so I was pretty close to food. And I wanted to see, could you do a competition page, because people love taking pictures of their food, right? And post them all over social media. Here's what I'm eating right now. Phone eats first. I mean, you know the deal. So what I was doing is having people send in food pictures and putting them against each other in a competition of who could get the most likes, right?
Oh, okay.
And at the end of 2 weeks, the winner won $25, and they were incentivized to tell all their friends to go like the picture. It ended up blowing up a little bit. And so it ended up having over 1,000 followers, the page. And I said, I want this to start being able to monetize. I wanted to get advertisers of local restaurants to be able to post their stuff on our stories, so that we could increase the prize and really turn it into a business almost. And so I went to the local bars and local restaurants and realized that Kalamazoo, Michigan's about 5 to 10 years behind in terms of marketing, where they had 40 to 50-year-old restaurant managers marketing to the 21-year-old kids to come in and drink tonight after classes are done, and that doesn't necessarily work because they speak different languages. So from that point, they said, hey, we need help with our social media marketing, and so that's where Novoselsky Media came from. Side note, don't start a digital marketing company right before a global pandemic. Not exactly ideal. If you are planning to open one, choose a different timing.
So what was that experience like? You're working with a bunch of restaurants, right? You're saying that they feel a little outdated in the marketing sphere, maybe not so in touch with the latest trends on social media. I doubt any of them are even on TikTok. I wasn't on TikTok till the pandemic either. So, I mean, TikTok's great, but this was before TikTok. What was that experience like, helping people through a challenge that they were like, probably, we like our ways. We've been doing this for how many years? And then you come in.
Yeah, you need someone that kind of gets it, that can kind of hand the reins over a little bit and say, hey, we want to try something new. But the thing that set us apart, and the thing that really sticks with me in anything that I do now, is anyone can have a product or a service. I can offer you food, I can offer you any service, and you can easily go pick someone else, go pick a competitor and have a similar product or service. What sets you apart is that experience side of it. So for the restaurant specifically, we said, what's different about this experience? It's the people, it's the staff, it's the servers, it's the nightlife, it's everything about what you're doing at night. So let's promote everything on social to that. So that's what we do with any new clients now, whether it's real estate, whether it's the restaurant business, whether it's BuzzU right now, is anything that we're doing content-wise on our social media, it's about the experience.
I love that.
Zach, so that's a perfect transition. We have Novoselsky Media, right? Pandemic hits, and there's buzz, pun intended, around this bill, right? That might get passed around NIL. Can you explain what NIL is first for Elevation Nation?
Yeah, so for however many years, over 100 years with the NCAA, any athletes have not been able to monetize off of their name, image, or likeness. Now, you've seen it in the past couple of years of guys being YouTubers and not being able to get paid, or having their own brands and having to choose between playing college sports and doing that and being a business person. Now that's gone. Where these guys can start to make deals based on their marketability and their popularity to say, hey, I want to promote that restaurant, or I want to promote that car dealership in exchange for money coming back to them.
There are a whole. Sorry,
ahead,
I was just going to say there are a whole bunch of weird rules when it comes to the NCAA and college athletes. I'll tell a quick story that may get me in trouble, but hopefully not. Our first guest on the podcast, Parker, do you know who it was?
Yeah, the guy from Ohio State.
Yeah, that boy from Ohio State, Joey Lane. Joey Lane was the first guest on the podcast, and I remember talking to Nancy Lane, his mother, and she said that she wasn't even able to take Joey and the boys grocery shopping when she came to visit because she wasn't allowed to pay for things for them. And I don't know like what the exact rule was, but she wasn't allowed to. Maybe because she was an alum, I'm not sure. And so just to kind of paint that picture of how absurd some of the rules are for these NCAA athletes, here you have these guys and girls busting their asses to, show their school in the best light, get championships, get wins, sacrifice, be student athletes, and yet some of them were struggling to eat, some of them were struggling with housing, right? Like there are a lot of issues that they were facing. And so that's why when NIL, all this rumbling started happening, it was the first opportunity that a lot of these college athletes had to really make a ton of wrongs right, finally. Like Zach said, it's been 100 years. So just to try to paint that picture for Elevation Nation on how big a deal this was for college athletes.
Yeah, and exactly what you said. This is billions and billions of dollars that the NCAA was keeping for themselves instead of spreading the wealth. And it's not even necessarily money that athletes were doing partnerships with and they get back. It was just no partnerships at all. And so it was long overdue, and it started in 2019 in California, and it ended in 2020, July 1st, when they passed the first laws for NIL.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about when they passed that. I'm sure you got the big names, the guys playing at Alabama, the basketball players playing at Duke. They got big social followings just because, I was the number one player in the country. I just have a big following by nature. People want to know what I'm up to. But we're talking about all college athletes. So what is it about this monumental piece of legislation that passed? But I mean, from the forefront, it seems like only the most popular are actually benefiting from it.
And you're not wrong, right? And what happened July 1st is that the rules went out, and they told college athletes that they could make money. And what a lot of these guys did, because I still follow some old teammates of mine who are now seniors who were freshmen when I was there. I'm not that old yet, but they put on their Instagram story, and it was a set up message that they were all posting, and it said, "My page is now open for business because NIL laws just changed July 1st, 2021." And at first I said, "That's awesome. This is incredible." And then I started to realize, how many deals are coming from that message? Parker, can you guess how many deals are coming from that Instagram story?
Well, it depends who you are. I would say
Parker, zero.
Yeah, the majority probably goose egg.
Zero. Because how many businesses are following your Instagram page that want to throw money at you?
Well, the only people
zero.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So these guys have this crazy thought of, I'm gonna get paid. I can get paid now. This is awesome. This is incredible. But you're not getting paid because, one, these businesses don't follow you, and two, they don't know their ROI on it. It's brand new. They don't know what they can do. They don't know what they're allowed to do. They don't know the rules. So those deals aren't happening. So while in hindsight it looks great to put out these press releases that say athletes can now make money, everything is right in the world, if it's not happening, nothing changed. See what I'm saying?
Totally.
It's like, to me, it's like you're moving, you cleaned out your house, and you finally got everything prepared, and you want to have a garage sale, an estate sale, and you throw a big, beautiful ass garage sale sign in a cul-de-sac that no one drives by. Right? Like, you're not going to get any sales, right? And it's also, I love what you said, Zach, about no one's done this before, so no one really knew the right way to do it. Because, yeah, the only way that this was happening before was under the table, like black market style, like the Miami Hurricanes, my dad's former school. Sorry, Dad. Right? They were doing things under the table in a sketchy way. That was the only precedent that we had. And it seemed like kind of a light bulb went off in your head. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll give you the backstory, and this will help you understand a little bit better from where I saw the issue and where I went with BuzzU. Is this all started February of 2021. And I kind of sat back, everything slowed up with the training, everything slowed up Novoselsky Media, and I said, what's my next step? And everything kept going back to athletes and marketing and this NIL rule that was going to come through. And I started thinking about a specific wide receiver that I played with. Dwayne Eskridge, and he was a stud. He was our guy. He was down the field catching touchdowns all over the place. And so he was coming off of an injury year, his junior year. And so senior year nationally, he wasn't the most buzzing guy around the country. But by the end of the year, after his senior year, he got drafted second round by the Seahawks and was that guy. So I started thinking back, and I said, well, if NIL had passed for him, in a town like Kalamazoo that has 5 or 6 billionaires and millions of dollars flowing through the school and athletic department, how would he make deals if he's not represented by an agent? And my question then got answered and said he wouldn't. He's got 2 jobs, right? He's a student and an athlete. You're a student, you go to class, you do your homework, you make sure that you're eligible for game day. And you're an athlete. You practice, you lift, you watch film, you play on game day. Those are your 2 jobs. You're not your own agent. You're not your own representation. You're not a marketing professional to know how much you should be worth in each deal. And it's impossible to navigate those waters if you don't have representation. And the reality of it is only the top 1% was going to have reputation and make these deals. So a lot of the time what you're seeing now is the top 1% signing 5, 6, 7-figure deals, and everyone else getting scraps, getting a free shirt or a free gift card, whatever the case may be. So, and I know, Parker, I'm going to get to your question in a second. I want to finish this thought real quick. Got hit in the head a couple times. I want to finish it up. So my question then became, how do I help these guys? And the one option was, well, you become their agent. And you become their middleman and connect them to these businesses, create these deals, all X, Y, and Z, right? And in order to do that at a smaller scale, where you're going to take less profit of a cut of a small deal, you need a lot of volume in order to create a business that's viable, right? And so I started asking my teammates, who I keep very close, my friend group, and Jamari Bogan, who I respect a lot in the business world and personally, he said, what about the data side? And I was like, what are you talking about, the data side? Like, I'm a management degree. I'm an MBA. I'm not a software engineer. I'm not over here coding anything, right? Like Sam, I'm not coding anything. So then I started putting it out there. What if I could figure out how marketable each college athlete is in each college town? What if you could put a number based on how buzzing you are and how often people are talking about you and how you're playing on the field and search engine analytics? And so that's where BuzzU kind of sprouted from. And I had a conversation at dinner in February with my parents and ended up getting connected to 2 software guys actually through Stevenson. And that's how this was all born. And so the last 11 months, we've been creating those proprietary algorithms and are finally ready to launch the beta version.
So let's talk about the algorithms. What?
Yeah. They're proprietary, Parker. He just said.
Yeah, we're not releasing the code, dude. Like, the code's not getting released on Facebook. Like, relax. What are the criteria that, first of all, companies, businesses, small businesses are looking for when they want to partner with an athlete? And then on the other end, what, from an athlete perspective, what do they want to showcase? What is the thing, I guess, that sets you apart?
Yeah, so right now the answer is no one knows. If you go to the average college athlete and you say, well, why would this company want to partner with you? It's like, because I can. There's really not necessarily data behind it or numbers behind it. Some guys will go to their following and go to, hey, I have a big platform, I have a big voice. Some guys might say that I'm one of the top players, but there's no consensus of here's why you should partner with me. And so what we've done with our algorithms, and we've actually gone against kind of the norm of what some other people are doing. Some other people are treating these athletes like they're just influencers. So they're saying, how many followers do they have? How big is their platform on TikTok, on Instagram, and those types of things. But all three of us here know athletes have a very different pull than just from social media. So a guy that's very close to my heart, near and dear, when we started this, Aiden O'Connell from Stevenson, he up until a month ago didn't have any social media besides for LinkedIn. I mean, you would have thought we were living in 2002, Parker. It was, I mean, something you've never seen before. But he's out there breaking Drew Brees records, 500 yards passing, win over Tennessee in the bowl game. Everyone knows who this guy is, coming from a walk-on to now the star quarterback, right? But he doesn't have a social media following. So if you're going off of influencer numbers, he's a zero. He's got nobody on his platform. However, with our algorithms and how we structure it, you see that he's a buzzing guy and everyone's talking about him.
It's so cool, this whole concept of this being so net new. Like, I feel like you're almost, Zach, an explorer, right? Like you said, this has not been done before. You are going into uncharted territory, uncharted waters. So going back to kind of what I started the podcast with, entrepreneurship is scary enough, right? Like, Parker and I are doing it, but we're doing something that's been done before. Like, we just bought microphones and talk about our problems like it's therapy. Like, we're not recreating anything here. And it's scary for us. Like, you are being an entrepreneur in an entirely net new space. And that takes a certain special type of person. And you've been an athlete your entire life, so I know this resonates with you. Parker and I are obsessed with mindset, Zach, and what a mindset can do to an individual. I think that is the thing that a lot of young people don't realize that they're missing. We like to call it mental fortitude. So what that means is you have self-awareness of who you are. You have a vision of where you want to go, and you hold yourself accountable to get there. And I know that resonates a lot with being an athlete and now an entrepreneur. How have you had to shift your mindset, first going to be a college athlete and now going into uncharted territory, into entrepreneurship in this net new world?
Yeah, I was blessed to be surrounded by some great coaches in PJ Fleck and Coach Lester, and some great mindset guys with leadership in Ryan Blank. And they taught me a lot of valuable lessons along the way of football that related to real life. So I was real blessed to actually see those come true and how it affected different guys on the team, and learn some of those lessons beforehand before I stepped out into the real world. Something that I want to bring up and talk about that I think is huge, and I think that you guys can relate to it, especially with our generation and what we've gone through in terms of social media and everything else in the landscape, is that in order to truly get the most out of what you're doing and be in a positive mental state to do what you're doing, you have to run your own race. And what I'm saying there is that it's so easy to go on Instagram and look at likes, or to go on Instagram and say, how many viewers am I getting on my story? Or this person's got that many likes. This person's in Hawaii. That person's in Florida. This person looks like they're having the time of their life. They're out to Nobu. And it's so easy to look at those and say, you know what, that person they're living their life. They're living their best life. Right. And sometimes it's cool to say and funny to say about, look at that person. They're doing it big. But it can take a mental toll on you to say, where am I at? And what am I doing? And how come I'm not there? Or why aren't I at those dinners or at those destination spots or on the plane? Or it's so easy to go on your phone and say, I'm not where they are. And you have to realize, this is something that I've been taking a deep dive into, is our definitions of success can be wildly different. And that changes why I'm going to move the way I am and you're going to move the way you are. If my goal is to go visit every single state in the country before I'm 30. And your goal is to make $10 million in your bank account by the time you're 30. Our lives are going to look vastly different. However, we're both chasing our version of success. And so if you look at me and say, wow, he's traveling to all these states, he's doing all this all over the country, that's awesome, I'm not successful, it doesn't make sense, because we're running two completely different races. But sometimes in our mental, it's okay, we're near the same age, we came out from the same place, let me compare myself to that person, and it can be difficult mentally.
Sometimes the easiest thing to do is pick up the phone. I mean, it's literally by our side, strapped to our waist. We can just pick it up at any point. We do it without even knowing. We just start scrolling, and we've hit this point where we're pretty much unintentionally comparing. But the hardest thing actually is taking the step back and having the self-awareness to dive a little deep, be a little introspective. What do I want? Like screw what Sam's doing, screw what Zach's doing. Like, they're doing great things. And yeah, I'm a little jealous, a little envious of what they're doing, what they're up to. But that's their life. Like, how is that going to affect me? Probably indirectly. You know, if Sam's doing good, I'm happy. I'm happy for him. You know, maybe he, jumps on a podcast, brings on a cool guest like Zach. Like, yeah, it directly affects my life. But that's only 1 hour a week. So the self-awareness that's needed to sit and take that, I want to take hold of what I want to go, where I want to go. And it starts with values. What do you value? Is it money? Is it travel? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it football, food, whatever it is? Taking that step back and like really realizing those things can be the hardest thing, when in reality, we've been like almost primed our entire life to think it's the easiest thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that piggybacking off of that is it's real easy to want to flex for others and say, look at what I'm doing. Look where I'm at. Look at how cool this is. I think we're all guilty of that, right? I think we can all put our hand up and say that. But at the end of the day, you're going to sleep and you're in your own room, and you got to look yourself in the mirror. No one else is looking you in the mirror and saying, hey, great job. I love what you did today. It's, hey, Am I excited with what I'm doing and where I'm going? And if that answer is no, then no amount of social media flexing or here's where I'm at or here's where I'm doing will suffice.
And I mean, I'm so glad we're going down this route, because I'm very passionate about it. I think Zach and Parker was raised in a similar bubble to ourselves. He's from Baltimore, but we have all these people around us, right? In the middle class, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, and we see the life that we think we're supposed to have. And therefore, we kind of just follow it blindly a lot of the times, right? Oh, my dad's a consultant, I'm going to go be a consultant. My dad's doing insurance, I'm going to go do insurance. My dad's doing investments, I'm going to go take his book, right? Like, whatever it may be. And that pressure, whether it's a little bit good or a little bit bad, is with us no matter what. And I think a lot of the times young people now are pushing off this conversation that they need to fucking have with themselves, because it's easier to stay comfortable and worry about that later. I'll figure out exactly what I want to do when I'm 25, or I got time. Let me just work my way up to 30 and then I'll figure it out.
They think
I'm going to find my passion under my couch, right? Like, whatever it may be, you're waiting. And you're not having that hard conversation that you need to do at least once a year, is look yourself in the mirror, say, what do I want? What's bringing me joy and fulfillment? What's not? What people are toxic and what people are making me grow and push as a person? What habits have I formed that are good and bad, right? Like, taking a step back to really be like, am I going on a path that is for me or not? Because for me personally, to get introspective here for a minute, one of my greatest fears is regret. Like, I am so scared of regret, not taking a chance, because all we have is time on our side right now. And I know that that's the only thing that is really in my control, is taking advantage of what I have right now. And so for me personally, I'm deathly afraid of that regret. And I think for a lot of people, they don't realize it, but that's what they're going to be thinking about in 10, 20, 30 years as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think that for me personally, it comes down to I won't settle. And that's where a lot of my decisions stem from. If I feel like I'm settling and I'm just accepting something because that's the way it's supposed to be or that's the comfortability, that's not something I can live with. And so it comes down to what you're willing to sacrifice in order to get what you want. And whatever way that happens, it's different for everyone. But not everyone has the same type of mindset. And that's where if some people have this idea of, hey, my success is a stable income at a 9 to 5 where I can provide for my family and do everything that I'm looking to do, great. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But you need to be self-aware to say, here are my goals, here's what I believe success is, before just chasing what you see from everyone else and believing that that's going to fulfill you.
It's mental fortitude in a nutshell. I mean, anybody can be self-aware, anyone can create a vision, and then anyone can hold themselves accountable to that vision to get a little bit further along the path. And I think as a young adult, if you're going through any challenges, whether it's you want to get out of a job, you want to start a company, or you're overcoming a breakup, whatever it is, you can always rely on self-awareness, vision, and accountability, I think, as a core pillar of how to get over the hump and get you back on track.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, I think that it's huge, and that's everything right there, right? But it's a daunting task yourself. And it is just straight up very difficult to have that conversation with yourself, especially when you're seeing everything else. So the tricky part, and what I figured out as a founder, is when you're doing everything on the ground, it's tough to have that view up from the sky. And see, hey, what's going on right here? What's going on right now? Like when you're in the job and you have to worry about day-to-day tasks, and I have to get this done and that done, and this didn't work out and that did. It's difficult to step back and say, is this what I'm loving doing, and where does this go in the future? And so having the people around you to check you and say, hey, is this what you think is the best way to go about a certain situation or whatever the case may be? That's why I think it's so important that I have my core friend group from college, and then also mentors that have helped me along the way that have done it before. But to have that circle around you it's invaluable. It is truly something that sets you apart, because at the end of the day, we're all human. And some days are better than others. And to have someone in your corner to say, hey, I value you and see what you're going through, and this is how it's going to work out, is everything.
Zach, what's been the most challenging part of trying to start your, I guess, third company? But I mean, obviously this is something that is the latest and is so new. What's been the most challenging piece of that?
Yeah, I think that it's stepping out of the comfort zone. I think that the last two companies, we had the vision of scaling, but didn't end up scale. And so we didn't end up scaling bigger than the few clients we had at Novoselsky Media, and we didn't end up scaling bigger than Kalamazoo, Michigan for Athletes Beyond Campus. So when we started BuzzU, realizing that it has to be bigger. And we have to make this a true business with multiple layers, and be able to get to all of these, whether it's software things or client facing or sales or legal, whatever the case may be. Just because I'm wearing those hats right now, we have to be able to pass those tasks off. And so going out and raising outside investment from a friends and family round, going out and starting to hire different sales reps, going out and getting legal counseling to take that off the plate, and really being able to trust this vision's coming together, but I need more people on a team. And that's the one thing that I was missing from my first two businesses, was building a team. That's where I thrive, and that's where I love to be. And it's a little bit lonely, to be quite honest, and get introspective, as Sam likes to say, on that. So it's something that I'm working on right now, and to bring a team around me to take this thing to the moon.
Zach, you mentioned scaling, and so I got to give credit where credit is due you posted something today that's pretty damn impressive. So I want to give you a shout out. BuzzU's got 90 athletes from 8 different universities already on board across the country. Snaps to you, man. It's been a year and you are crushing it. I know some of the athletes you have on very well, a couple Stevenson guys who are close to my heart, and I'm excited to see that they're on the platform as well. And it's just incredible. The growth, it's nice when you can see growth, right? Sometimes in those first few months as an entrepreneur, when you're building stuff up and you don't really see progress, you're like, damn, this is taking forever. But now that you're actually starting to scale and getting your groove and you got your mojo going here and that momentum, I'm sure it's only going to be to the moon in terms of how many more athletes you're going to get on board here. So we're really proud of you, man, and all the work you've been doing.
And athletes that you're going to help change their life, help, whether it's $1 or maybe one day $1 million. You never know. I mean, it's maybe something that they never thought that they could get in their life as a college athlete, but then also the impact that can have broadly across an entire community.
The impact goes further than monetary even. If you get on the platform and you can see, here's my data behind how marketable I am, and it starts getting the wheels turning of, I'm a brand, I'm a business, how do I represent myself? If that can help in the future, that's everything. And so that's where we've pivoted a little bit of our mission, where before it was to help these schools, businesses, and agents, to now our mission is to help democratize NIL. And so what that means is that 98% of guys aren't involved with NIL. How do we help that? So right now we're selling to name, image, and likeness companies, and then also agents who represent these players because they have all the connections to these players, especially the NIL companies who are building these two-sided marketplaces and brand development and education and everything under the sun, where if we can get them those marketability scores where it can help their guys close deals and close the circle of NIL, that's our mission. And we think that that's the most helpful way to go about it.
Uncharted territory. If anyone's going to lead this NIL experience, it's going to be you, Zach. We are so excited to follow you on that journey, man. And you got 2 supporters right here from Elevation Nation, loving what you're doing. I want to transition into a segment that we like to call our rapid fire segment here. Just like you're on the football field, quick hands drill. Here, Zach, we got a few questions for you, so I'm going to kick us off. Favorite place you've ever played football at?
The Bahamas was awesome. That and AT&T Stadium was sweet.
You hear that, wow. Jerry Jones? Bahamas over Dallas, Texas.
The Bahamas field was a soccer field, so it wasn't a $2 billion stadium, but the location you can't beat.
Unreal. Zach, what's one piece of advice you give every athlete you work with?
Wow. It's supposed to be rapid, huh? I'm already losing. What is one piece of advice that I give every athlete? I would say get feedback. I think that's the best way to learn. One thing that I prided myself on when I was playing was working with the best. I was recruited. So I know this is rapid questions. We're slowing it down a little bit. I was recruited to start my freshman year is what I was told. And I was told, recruiting pitches and you're going to come in, you're going to play. It's going to be awesome. You're going to have this incredible dorm room. That didn't happen either. But I was told that I was going to start. And I ended up sitting behind 3 NFL draft picks, 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, who are going to make over a combined $100 million in their career. And so one thing that I prided myself on was working with one of those guys every single day, especially in the weight room. And even though I might not have been that caliber of the NFL draft pick, was getting feedback from him. What do you see? How are you working your technique, anything like that. So even high school guys, getting around guys that you trust, that you know work hard, whether it's the weight room or on the practice field or anything like that in the classroom, get behind those guys and ask what they see.
And that's why Zach always asked me to work out. He knew my technique was superb and I was getting recruited everywhere. So, he just wanted me to rub off on him.
That's why I'm here right now.
Exactly. Exactly. Z, what is a favorite book that you've read?
Favorite book that I've read? That is a great question. I might have to rain check you on that one. I'm in the middle of one right now. I'm more of a podcast listener. I'm not as much of a book reader. I'm kind of all over the place with what I take in. A lot of it is more digitally than sitting down with a book. I don't know if either of you can relate. Kind of like the squirrel that sees something, sees a light go on, and I'm all over the place. So not as many books in my repertoire so far. That's something that I'm going to work on soon. So what's a book you'd recommend?
Ooh, what do you like?
Bro, I got this
Sam and I
library behind me here.
We read a lot of books.
Okay.
We do a podcast, but we don't listen to podcasts. We read books.
Okay.
One of my favorites is The Last Lecture. Incredible book by Randy Pausch. You might have seen his YouTube video, but he was dying of pancreatic cancer, and he essentially made a lecture that then turned into a book for his kids to teach them all the life lessons that he wasn't going to be able to teach them. So that is a wonderful read that really teaches you about life.
Zach?
I actually got one. You just jogged my memory. The Radical Candor was a great book. And it was a couple years ago now, so I got to get back to it and refresh. But it was incredible, just with mindset, with leadership, and everything under the sun there. So the Radical Candor, I would highly recommend.
I think if you haven't read it, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, founder of Nike. You're an entrepreneur, you're a sports guy. You will kill that book, and maybe that will inspire your reading. For the future. It's an incredible book. His story is amazing. Talk about a guy who just never said, okay, like, I'm going, and you're either coming along or I'm running you over. Like, what an awesome story. So highly recommend that one.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. One quick thing. I know we got to get to another rapid question. And I think that this is a nugget that'll help a lot of people listening that are especially in their early 20s transitioning from college to real world, to whatever that looks like. It's easier to say it than to do it. But once you stop caring about what other people think and how other people are going to perceive how you're moving, you could be free. And I know we're getting deep off of this conversation, but it's something that people are going to talk either way. And whether it's good, bad, ugly, whether someone agrees with what you're doing, doesn't agree with what you're doing, people are going to talk. And if you consistently stay worried about what people are saying and how people are going to perceive your next move, it'll hold you back. So once you can truly let go of that and really just move how you want to move, it's freeing. And that's something that I figured out along the way. And I think it's important for other people to hear that.
I got to talk about that for a second. I'm
Sam,
so glad you brought that up.
I just sent you a TikTok on that, didn't I?
You did, yeah. You literally like 5
like
minutes
literally.
ago. I want to talk about that for a second because I went to school with Zach. I've known Zach since I was young. I was definitely not the most athletic or tallest or best looking or coolest kid in school. And that made me really nervous about who I was, what I did, what I wore, how I performed, even me sitting on the bench basketball games. I wanted to make sure I looked like, oh, well, like maybe he could play. Like he must be pretty good. I was not good. I sucked. I don't know why I was on that team. Thank you, Pat Ambrose. But I was very self-conscious with what other people thought about me. I mean, we went to a really big high school with 1,000 kids in our graduating class. And the perception that I had of myself was not as positive as I would have liked it to be. And went to Maryland and luckily found a little bit more confidence, really grew into who I was and started to own what I wanted to do with my life. But that trend and that theme, Zach, that you're saying, you got to stop worrying about what other people think. That hit me again when I started to be an entrepreneur, especially because Parker and I had to throw our ugly mugs at the front of this company, right? Like it's all about mindset. We have a podcast. We're doing social media. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to do any of that
What ugly mug
stuff.
are you talking about?
Sorry, Parker. You're so handsome, man.
What
You are
ugly
so-
mug are you talking about, man?
You are the most handsome. I'm talking about mine, right? So
Damn right.
I love that you brought that up, Zach, because it was hard. Like, just to be honest, between me and you, like, I was nervous. Like, what are the kids from high school gonna think? Like, what are the kids from college gonna think? What are my coworkers gonna think? And to your point, you need to run your own race.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, people are going to be taking pictures. They're going to be talking good things or talking shit about you on the sidelines, but it's your race to run. And in order to not have regrets, you need to run that and block everyone out and focus on the finish line. And that was a lesson that took me a long time to learn. So if there are people in Elevation Nation that are struggling about who their true identities are, maybe you're not being true to your core organic self, or maybe you're going down a path that doesn't seem right or natural. Take a step back, realize that it is your race to run, to quote Zach. I love that line. And at the end of the day, people are going to talk positive, they're going to talk negative, but if you are confident in who you are and what you are good at, it is your race to finish.
And I'll add to that. And this is something I've been thinking about a while, and I've been starting to live by a little bit. As long as you are, or I'm talking about myself, as long as I am trying to make the world a better place, there will be positive ramifications throughout my life as a result. And it doesn't matter what other people think. As long as I think I'm trying to make the world a better place, there will be positive things that occur consistently throughout my life. That's my new mental motto, Zach. We want to hear yours. I know you got one prepared. We asked you before. We got a new section about mental mottos. We're gathering a bunch of them because we want to showcase Elevation Nation to the world.
Yeah, I think it started through BuzzU. And at first we were trying to be this huge sell to all these different people. And then the mission changed, like I mentioned, to sort of help democratize NIL. And this kind of quote, first of all, I thought I made it up. I thought I was a genius. Then I looked on Google and realized I didn't, but that's besides the point. But I started to say, so I'll just take credit for it. Don't look it up. I started to say, instead of being everything to everybody, I want to be something to somebody. And what I just said was, instead of being everything to everybody, is I want to be something to somebody. And what that means, and it kind of transcends business, it transcends relationships, friendships, everything, is if you're looking to please everybody, you're really pleasing nobody. And instead, let me be something to somebody and be authentic to myself. Because I think being authentic to yourself is the greatest thing that you can ever do. It attracts like-minded people. You can have conversations that are real and feel good about yourself, laying your head on the pillow at night. And that authenticity is everything to me. So that's the people that I surround myself with, and that's the people I'll continue to surround myself with.
And those are the types of people that we love having on the podcast. People like yourself, Zach, who aren't afraid to be true to their mission, who they are at their core, run their own race, be introspective and vulnerable with us. Yeah, we're a glass of bourbon deep, but this is what we love to do, man. It's really refreshing and therapeutic for us to be able to sit with someone else going through their life, talk through it, get introspective. This pandemic has been hard. I've missed out on these connections, man, and it is wonderful to be able to get deep, talk about BuzzU, talk about your story and how you are going to change the world. So, Zach, I love your mental motto, man. That was incredible. Go ahead.
I will add one more thing, and I kind of want to get your perspective
Please.
on it. Because sometimes I'm backwards in my thinking, and that helps sometimes. But I think that the pandemic, not the pandemic itself, but what it's done to us in quarantining and staying inside and not being able to flex that I'm at the bar or I'm on vacation or whatever the case may be, has sort of been a blessing in my life to really be able to take a step back and look at what am I doing? Where do I want to go? And like, there's nowhere to hide because you're looking at yourself inside after quarantining and just saying, well, where am I at and what am I doing and why am I doing it? And I'm not sure if you two had similar experiences, but that's kind of how I felt and how I moved forward through it.
It's, I think, the idea of just elevating in general. The ones who elevate take the most adverse, the most averse of circumstances, take them and make them something to learn from, to grow from, and to be better from. I lost 2 family members over the last 2 years, and it was tough for everyone. It was tough for me personally. It was challenging, but it's crazy when we reflect on the last 2 years, like what's transpired. Zach, you've started a company. Sam and I run Elevation Nation. We both got promoted at our job, like all doing it during a pandemic when we've been so disconnected. But people who elevate take those moments of difficulty, and Sam's favorite word, double down on themselves. And then when the pandemic comes to an end, we'll come out so much stronger than where we started. And that's the beautiful thing about elevating.
I love what you said, both of you guys. I think, Zach, you're exactly right. This pandemic, I think back to that point where people were like, it's only going to be 2 weeks. And so at 2 weeks, you're thinking,
dude, like one day.
Sweet. I can watch Tiger King. I will watch The Last Dance. And that is how I'm going to spend my pandemic time. Perfect. A little mini vacay. And then you're like, I almost wish at the beginning we were like, it's going to be 2 years. Pick a passion project. Like, I would have had probably an extra couple months at the beginning where I was just effing around doing nothing because I thought I was going to be back to my normal life. Like, I wish I knew. No, man, you're going to be in this thing. You better find something to do. So I couldn't agree more. I think, a lot of bad things happened with this pandemic. A lot of people were lost and a lot of jobs lost as well. And so obviously our hearts go out to all the people impacted from COVID-19. But in terms of the mindset game, I do think there was an opportunity to really weed out, as Coach Paul Swan says, the cream will rise to the top. And I think people who went through that adversity and decided to do something with their lives, or even just take a step back and be introspective, are the ones that are truly going to benefit and come out of the other side better. So I love that, Zach. I think that was fantastic.
On top of that, I think everyone's going to come out of this thing better. Better people. We've all, as a community, as a country, as a world, been resilient. And that is something I think kind of inspiring. It's nice to think that we're all going to come out stronger people and maybe hopefully better as a society as a result of that.
Love it. Absolutely. So, Zach, again, we want to thank you, man, for opening up, for talking about your journey, talking about BuzzU. You are part of Elevation Nation now, part of the family. We are hyped that we got 2 Novoselskys in the crew. We might have to have Kenzie on to talk about her 21st in Vegas next and add it to 3. But seriously, we love you, man. This was fantastic. We're going to link out to BuzzU, to Zach's profile, to their Instagram, their website, everything, so you can learn more about Zach, about BuzzU, and his amazing journey. Thank you for opening up with us, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Of course, Sam, Parker, appreciate you guys having me on Elevation Nation. It's taken off, and anyone that listens and is part of that community, my DMs are open. If you ever need a word of advice, I'm here for it.
Love it.
Sammy, it's that
Elevation
time.
Nation. Until next week. Peace. Yo.